What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. Before we get to working on the FC here in a second, I've actually got some parts for sale from the FC if you should need them. Effectively, the rear interior, which is a pretty mint black interior, bins. One of the bins has the bottom cut out of it to fit the battery. The rear carpets are in decent shape. Gray rear trim, or I guess faded black rear trim. Decent black carpet for around the bins, the supports for the bins, speaker covers. Basically, the rear interior stuff from that FC. If you need it, comment below. I would prefer that you can come and pick it up. Actually, don't comment below. Message me on Instagram if you need or want that stuff. My buddy who owns the car does not want it. So let's do a quick project vehicle update here at the Rad Ranch before we start. We're going to make this super snappy quick, and you guys can go check out the other videos on these cars. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We have a lot more projects than just the Red FC currently going on and that we've done in the past. So, 1974 Mazda rotary pickup truck, half Bridgeport, runs perfect. It's a ripper. The Jeep, not really a project on the channel, but runs great. It's just a Jeep. The RX7, currently getting tuned, as in, it's unfortunate it has to sit kind of under my lean-to because I only have my one little garage, but for now, it's sitting here, running, driving. I've been driving it around, working on the fuel tech tuning. I've got to get it on a dyno and get a competent, not me, tuner to look at it. The RX8, still waiting for the final stuff that I need to sort out from the hybrid Ren Assist deal. And trust me, I've read all your comments. Everyone's saying it's a bad idea. Don't turbo the Ren Assist. You're just going to blow it up. Well, I am more than willing to just blow it up. So let's find the limits of the hybrid turbo Ren Assist. And if it breaks, well, I have a REW on the shelf in the shop that I'll build and put in here, and then it'll be like everybody else's turbo RX8 because it's a REW swapped RX8. The dually. I know some of you guys have came to the channel and subscribed because you saw me change my injectors on the dually. This thing, I've put about 25,000 miles on it. Thing rocks. Rock solid. It's just doing its thing. Nice 250,000 mile truck. If you're new here and you've never seen this, this is effectively my daily driver right now, but this is a 6-speed manual, 4-wheel drive, Duramax, diesel, flatbed. It's a beast. It's kind of a unicorn. Right now, the only thing that I'm really working on it is my AC blows so cold that it actually drips all the liquid condensation into my passenger floorboard. So I've got to figure out why that's stopped up. The black FD, which you're going to see here in a second, gets pushed out of the garage, and I made it to this spot. It's the worst part of the gig right here. I got to push this, jump into the car, close the door, not hit the wall with the door, but have enough momentum to roll the car all the way out, miss my lamp post, and somehow line this thing up over there all by myself. Oh, come on. There we go. As much as this is taking away the fun suspense that next clip had, it's chilling right here. I washed it before it went in the garage, so it's all clean. But engine's out, as you saw from the last video. We have a full crazy build plan for this car. So brand new engine from Mazda, full Haltech, all the good stuff, new turbo, we're changing it up. This thing is going to be slick when it's done, and that is next after the FC. As far as the other cars that you have seen or seen in the background, I got a bunch more stuff down there, but the GS LSE, we'll fix it one day. I've actually got a 6-port to Weber 48 manifold in the shop for this car and a Weber 48, so just got to get that carb slapped on here. This will just be like a fun stock street car. The Cosmo is going to be a long and grueling project in the next couple of years, and my C6 Z06 Corvette, which resides in my basement living room, is just, it's a great Corvette. It's bone stock. It does the thing. And if you really want to get handy around here, you can help me fix the turning brakes on my bulldozer, because one of them is sticking, and it kind of, you just be driving down the road, and then the right track will lock up, and you go and drive off the road. So I got to fix that because I need that thing so we can do some much needed improvements to the storage for the cars around here. The rescued Turbo 2 is back, and honestly, not better than ever. So, the FC has made it in the garage. I gave it a little cleanup. The shop's all clean, because I like to clean my shop between projects. And this is where we stand. Haven't even touched it yet. So, we're going to jump in today, right now. I'm going to pop this hood off, which fortunately, it's an aluminum hood, which is a win. We're going to pull all the ancillary parts out of this thing, drain the fluids out of it. We're going to yank this engine out, get this thing up on jack stands so we can assess the weird thunk in the rear suspension, start cleaning this thing up. We've got a bunch of projects fixing up the bodywork on this thing. I've got a new wing for it. All sorts of cool stuff, but we got to start with getting this engine out. It has been quite a minute since I've pulled an engine on an FC, but it's an REW, not that hard. All the rotary engines are pretty easy. I'll have this thing out within an hour. This is how you know it's going to be a good engine pull. Oil drain plug, mangled. Had to use my sweet vintage proto pipe wrench to get it off. Fire me up. Oil at least looks pretty clean. I got the intercooler pipes out of the way. Pull this upper intake manifold off. Pull the power steering pump off. Belts and wiring and stuff, and then we'll just whoosh, pop this thing right out of here. Upper intake manifold off. Looks like the thermo wax, like coolant stuff for the throttle body, which a thermo wax is what it would have been called on an FC or a first gen, but the throttle body coolant flow regulator thing was still hooked up on this deal. That's pretty old school. The thing that's interesting is this car has definitely been put together for a really long time, because a lot of this stuff, I'm definitely the first tool marks on this in a while. Look at that. No boost leaks with all the copper spray on here. Nice metal gasket though. Always use your OEM metal gaskets for your REW stuff. Here you can see like the stock rat's nest style stuff. So you've got the intake manifold is actually bolted on with the side brace, which is something you never see. And it looks like whoever did this harness did a really good job. I mean, it's all nicely plastic wrapped and loomed up, and everything seems to be in pretty good shape. Pull all the injector plugs and stuff out. This one still has your FD style, like side feed injectors, which are kind of a nightmare, but they're not leaking. Oh, it still has an oil metering pump in there. You can bet I'm going to be putting that back on. Maybe. We'll see. If I'm going to use this harness, which I think I will because it's already integrated for the FC, and it's a really nice harness, whoever did this, it's all nicely kept. This car will keep the Power FC in it, so not switching this to a Haltech, not doing anything crazy, simply going to unload the tune from the engine and turbo, which is that engine over there, and this turbo kit right here, that was in the FD, and we're going to load that tune into this Power FC, and then just paste the engine and turbo in this car. Fabricate a new mid-pipe so they connect and talk and everything's all happy. We'll put a new exhaust on it so that Racing Beat, catback, everything will be for sale if you need it. I think it's a stock T2 exhaust because this is just an upgraded Turbo 2 turbo. This is a stock style Turbo 2 turbo mounted to an REW, so super quick spool, easy packaging. But overall, so far, everything's looking super nice in here. Whoever put this car together, I know the Midnight Auto guys, this guy right here, found me on Instagram or commented on one of these videos. Y'all did a good job. This thing's definitely, you can tell because of how dirty it is that it's never needed to come apart, which means it's always either been A, running, or B, just parked. But I know when my buddy Richard's had it, it's always just been running. He's driven it out here before a couple times, so it's just been a good car. But let's pop all this wiring out of here, turbo off, radiator out, drain the water out of it. We should be good. I'd have probably went with a little bit shorter of an oil cooler line though. I mean, we could like oil cool this side of the engine. But good quality steel lines though. Bing bada boom, look at this deal. So, something cool. This is actually an automatic REW engine. Came from an automatic car. You can see the rear iron is different here. On the automatics, the starter actually mounted to the iron versus the transmission, or I guess some combination thereof. It's got this funky little indent up here as well. Otherwise, the same, I believe, the automatics to the manual, just the rear iron's different for those. Whomever built this engine mount did a really good job. Looks like it's just braced to the center iron here. It's not actually bolted to the center iron, that's just resting up against it. Uses the stock REW engine mount locations and mounts to the FC spot there. Honestly, not bad. I mean, it's under the car, so not really going to see it. The welds aren't, you know, not TIG welded perfection, but MIG welded goodness. So, pretty stoked for that. Went ahead and grabbed those engine mounts off the engine here, as we got to use them on the new setup. Looks pretty simple. Some regular hollow tube. Looks like some 3/4 inch square bar. Some pieces of flat steel. Welded all together. Engine sits in here like that. Mounts to car, mounts to car. Looks like they left some steel in there just to hold itself against the bottom of the center iron too. So, pretty stoked. So, this engine is just going to get shelved as a good core. Good extra engine. It's a reman. It should have Mazda 3-piece apex seals in it. It looks like it's been running the OMP, which has good oil in it as well. So one thing that I might do is talk with Richard about the car and say, hey, I got a good oil metering pump set up from your drift car. I think the drift car will probably be better suited to just premix only, because the engine that we had in the FD was premix only, the one we used, kind of sparking the whole, hey, look at all these apex seals in the different wear video, which you should go check out, seeing all the wear patterns and stuff with different brands of apex seals, etc. But that engine's been premix only, iRotary apex seals, and it's what's destined to go in here. So this is a street ported REW out of the other FD. I rebuilt this engine probably a year or so ago, a little over a year ago, before Deals Gap last year. We're going to pop this engine into this car, but this engine's basically ready to rip. And we're going to use this excessive intake manifold. We're going to use these 4 ID injectors up here in the secondary location, so not using the primary location, and effectively just use a bunch of this in here. But I think for the black FD, thinking out loud here, y'all getting the 411 before we go, this is a brand new Mazda engine, stock REW, brand new, which we're going to pull that apart, and that's what's going into the black car. We've got all sorts of fanciness going inside that engine. Nice, balanced, Chips Motorsports, sexy rotating assembly, whole bunch of good parts. And I think in that black FD, with that Haltech harness that we can get for that car, it can have a plug for the oil metering pump, and I think it might be in our best interest, and for me, just testing-wise, to put the oil metering pump on there and run it with the oil metering pump. I really like how the oil metering pump distributes oil, straight oil, not premix, so straight oil, onto the rotor housing, and it really lubricates that housing a lot better than just spraying diluted oil, so fuel and oil diluted together, premix, right, into your engine and hoping that it sticks to everything to lubricate it. So I think for the street car, that might be a pretty good setup. I know we run good quality engine oil in this stuff, and I think that might be a good setup for that car, especially now that we have. Most of the other cars have had the OMPs done, been ripped off because it put the car in limp mode and they just bypassed it on FDs and stuff, but this will be nice to freshen up this oil metering pump, stick it on that car, and I think that'll be a pretty good plus. Comment below if you think we should entertain that, but for now, taking this thing apart, I still am stoked that this car looks the way it does. The Power FC harness looks awesome. This car's definitely been together for a very long time, and you can tell that when they built it, they built this thing right. And even though, you know, engine mounts, super long oil cooler lines, some funniness going on here to make the You know, there's a rubber hose inside these two crimp fittings that's like 4 inches long, like some funky power steering stuff. Aside from all of that, this thing is very well built, and I'm pretty excited to drop that engine in there with the bigger turbo, maybe freshen up this engine bay a little bit, make this thing a little bit nicer, flash the new tune, build a new exhaust, and boom, we're off to the races and we'll have us a fresh car. So get excited for the Turbo 2 FC transformation, because that's what's going to be happening right here soon. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying seeing this thing transform, come to life, be reborn. And as much as, like, you know, it's a real good car, there's a lot of stuff here we got to fix. So definitely hit that subscribe button, especially if you want to follow along with this build. You want to follow along with the other builds that you guys already saw. And I appreciate every single one of you guys watching the videos. The goal in these videos is to teach you something new every time you watch the video. And the goal of the channel is just to share all this rotary knowledge with you guys. So with that, thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about these cars, more about these engines in detail, you have questions about your specific car or your specific build, hit up the Rad Potential Patreon. It's a bunch of guys over there asking some really good tech questions. I film videos in response to their questions, so that's the best way to get a hold of me. You can message me on there and ask me questions, and I'll film a video to answer them. It's great. Kind of like a live stream, but not live. If you also just want to learn more about these engines in general too, go check out the other videos on the channel. There's tons of good how-tos on the channel. Plenty of other builds that might match or suit what you're working on. So with that, keep it rad. We'll see you in the next one. Man, I tell you, FCs come apart pretty easy, especially after working on FDs. Hey, Letty. Oh, she just sat down. Letty's been pretty just, you know, chilling and hanging out as of late. She's sitting out here in the driveway just guard dogging it up. It'll be good. We'll get this thing back together. We gotta weld the diff. We gotta fix some rear suspension stuff and roll and pull these crunched up fenders up here and just try to make this thing like a good, reliable 300 and some change horsepower drift car. So with that, peace.